As per the title, I'm just gonna go direct to the point and start right straight away. So everyone, or to be fair, most people dream about moving abroad in places like, for example, Netherlands, Germany, US, all those rich countries where life seems to be perfect. But let me tell you, there are things people abroad won't tell you until you get in here. Some truths are amazing, others are not so much. So today let's talk about both the good and the bad. And for anyone interested to know where I'm shooting this video from, it's south of Germany, in Bavaria, in a place called Landesbeck am Lech. It's a very, very beautiful town, very beautiful. Okay, straight to the point. So first to the most talked about topic, that is the financial reality abroad. I have to say there are many opportunities abroad. So you'll find that salaries are good. You actually get paid per hour. It could be that you earn like 20 euros an hour, 15 euros an hour, depending on the country you are, which is quite good. So also access to education, you'll find like it's free of charge. Healthcare will also be free, or you pay some amount of money and you get most of the things like unlimited. The infrastructure will be perfect. You will easily have some cars. Like, it will be just a smooth, nice life. But the problem comes in where people abroad have to send money home. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. The bad thing here comes in when someone starts to pay the black tax. I would put it in quotes. So you find someone, maybe they are the firstborn or whatever, they are the only lucky people abroad to get abroad, and the family back at home, they don't do anything. They just sit at home at the end of the month, or anytime they feel like it will be ringing up this person on call, asking for things that they could actually work up for. They are not, considering that they are not handicapped or anything, they will be ringing up this person. This person will be jumping from one job to another job to another job, trying to make end meet here and back at home, because whenever you're abroad, it's like you are the bank of your family. So they will be asking money, you'll be sending money, they'll be asking money, you'll be sending money, and what they will not do, they will not use this money you're sending them to enrich themselves. It will be hand to mouth. You'll be doing hand to mouth abroad, they'll be also doing hand to mouth back at home. So at the end of the day, you are saving absolutely nothing. You are paying tax. The living cost as usual is high. So for example, if you send someone in Kenya 500 euros, they can easily live from this per month. But 500 euros abroad, you can't live from this. You have tax to pay. The food you have to buy is equally as high as it can be. You have bills to pay. So at the end of the day, it doesn't equate. The rent as well. If you live in a city where actually opportunities tend to be, you'll also have to pay equally amount of rent. So if you're earning, for example, 15 euros a month, that is nothing if you live in a big city. Even if you're gonna get 2,000 euros a month, that's nothing, because the rent is gonna be half, and it will be half, and it's just a squeezed apartment that you live in. So these are the reality people abroad will not show you because they are abroad. So to sum that up, saving is going to be harder than people imagine, especially when supporting family back at home, and that's why they might come back home with nothing, because they were supporting the people back at home and they were saving nothing. And the bad side of it is that it can also lead people into depression. And matters depression and alcohol, they go together. So alcohol abroad is quite cheap. It's very, very cheap. If I tell you cheap, it is cheap. So even if you have like 200 shillings, you can even get a huge bottle, 1 liter of wine, you know. It's just so cheap. It's actually cheap to drink than to eat. In this case, I mean alcohol. It's so cheap, easy to find as well. It's like in every store, every corner, and yeah, so you will find people abroad flaunting about wine bottles or whatever they want to flaunt, whiskey. Those things are very cheap. Those things are very cheap abroad. So if you can afford it in Kenya, just know that you're rich. Matters entertainment and loneliness or homesickness, it's also quite a thing. So I'll start with the good. Traveling is when someone has a visa, for example, in a place like Europe or America, it can be so easy because it is just so easy to move from one city to the other. Even with flights, if you compare the flight that you can board from in a country, so long as it's not international, it could be a return flight, and it costs like all equally the amount of price that you would use if you're traveling in one's country, and not because the country is big or something. If you just compare the salary that people earn back in Africa, you could easily tell that that is quite expensive for the people living in that country. And things like, for example, fuel, things like buying cars. Even actually, I find cars to be very expensive back at home in Kenya if I compare to the prices of cars, like second-hand cars for this case, abroad. So you find things like traveling, it's just quite easy because you can, for example, where I live in a city, I can easily just go outside, rent a car, travel with it to a different place without even needing the agent or the office of the person renting the car. You just jump in from one car so long as you have the license, and you travel, drop it or leave it on the roadside, and you're done. So traveling is nothing so special like people might be putting it on social media. And for that case, for example, if you have a Schengen visa, you can easily wake up in every country around Schengen. For example, you can start with the Netherlands, the next day you're in Belgium, the next day you're in France, the next day you're in Italy, the next day you're in Germany. And that is because you don't need a visa to move from this country. And at the same time, there is infrastructure in place. You can easily move from one country to the other with a train, with a bus, with a flight. It's so easy. So these are nothing. They're not so special things so long as you're abroad. But having said that, this comes, of course, at a cost. For someone to be able to be free to travel that much, it means they need a license, a valid license. It could be that they had a license in their country and it was not, it could not be recognized, so they had to like sit down and do another exam, do another practical exam, and it really costs a lot. So a driving license, for example, in Kenya, you can easily get a driving license with 300 euros, if I'm not wrong. Abroad, in this case, I'm talking of Germany because that's where I am now. You can pay 3,000 euros. So it's like 10 times the amount you would pay back at home. So these are the differences that nobody will speak about, or maybe will tell you why life abroad is as hard as it can be back at home. Because the much you earn, the more you earn, the more you give. In that perspective. At the same time, if you're in a country where people don't speak the language that you grew up with, it means you have to learn their language to be able even to travel quite a lot. Because if you don't understand the language, how will you be able to get into things? I mean, there is now the Google translation and everything, but to make it so smooth that you can travel from one country, you can easily ask people around you, you need the language. So you need to know the language before you step into the wilderness and start exploring. Another thing which comes along with traveling is that some people will just decide not to travel because they just don't know how things actually work. For example, they can't board a train on their own. They can't board buses. They're just there. They can't do anything without their spousal or friends or any help. So whenever they land into a city, they stick to that city and only do whatever they're shown on the first bit. So they're not willing to go out and try things. Also, still under loneliness and homesickness, some people just fail to not want to integrate for a reason best known to them, of course. They believe that where they come from or where they grew is the best that they could ever have, which also I don't disagree with them. So they will just decide not to just mix into the culture of the places they are in. So, for example, if there are events, they will decide or prefer not to attend and wait until maybe people that they can relate to organize something. So That also adds up to the loneliness, because you find that in these events, people that will be there will be people with different cultures, people with different vibes, people with different expectations than you have. So if you feel like you're not like really mixing quite well with such kind of people, you will always just lean back and don't do anything. And to quickly also add on that is that the weather here can be very harsh, especially winter. So for someone like me who grew up in Kenya, where it is always warm, it can be really, really tough if you are not so well integrated, because you find like in winter, the days are very short in that it starts to get dark very early. It also starts to get light quite late, so you're always like in the dark. It can also be very, very cold, so that means it will require you to wear many clothes before you leave out. And that makes also, it kind of drains your personality, because if you're this someone who is used to wear dresses, wear fancy clothes, uh, you might take time before you fit in, because you don't have time like to dress your best dresses that you bought. You will have to wear something very heavy with you, jacket, stockings, and all those leggings, you might call it, which after a period of time you get bored of it. But unfortunately, I would say 3/4 of the year is cold. So yeah, these are things you have to like get used to. Of course, some of your friends might have pictures or videos walking in the snow, half naked or very lightly dressed, under -10 degrees or so. No, those are just for the camera. That is life for the camera. In real sense, they really actually dress up and they don't joke about it. And also another thing is making friendship abroad can be very hard. It is actually hard to make friends with people who don't share the same humor, the same beliefs. It's just different. And also, if you come abroad as an adult, you might even find it quite harder, because these are people you didn't grow up with. They don't share the same values in life, and even if they do, it's just some part of life that you share. And also, it just takes time for people to get and to put you into their circles. So you will quite find often that foreign people, when they move to a foreign country, they are likely to intermingle with foreign people, because those are the people who can understand them slightly above, compared to the netizen or the citizens of the country that they are in. And some people say it's racism, it's whatever they call it, but I just think for the same people, if they were to move to your country, they would experience almost or slightly the same treatment, if at all we were in the same power level, matters economic, and we'll call it whatever. And forgive me if I'm wrong. Those people themselves, they always also know that they're quite cold, like they're cold people, so they don't mingle. That's their nature. Maybe it's because I've realized the higher you go, matters continents, like if you're close to the Arctic or where those cold areas are, the colder you get. So it could be also it's their nature. It's not because of racism. Of course there is racism, I'm not denying that, but it could be that the closer you are to the cold, the colder you become, and that's the way you are generally. Whereas, for example, as from Africa, we have like longer days of sunshine, and that also reflects in our moods. We are always happy. Like if it's sunny, you will always see people even happy just for the sake. If it's rainy all the time, it's gray, people just tend to be gloomy. That is nature. So maybe it's beyond their control. I didn't expect the video to be long. Actually, there is a lot to say, so I'm gonna split it into different parts. So another thing is that people tend to be direct. More so, like in Netherlands, people are very direct in their wordings. They will just say something directly without sugarcoating it, without even trying to make it appealing. They will just say whatever is in their mind and they are done. They will be so blunt, and that could actually affect someone if at all you don't integrate quite properly, or you don't get to understand how they express themselves. Because quite a lot of time, if you're new to these countries, you will always see these people as very rude, very racist, very whatever. But if you start to study them, you realize actually that's the way they are, and there's nothing you can change. You just need to know your limits and their limits, and that you can be able to speak about it whenever you feel you need to. And to finalize on the loneliness and the entertainment bit, is that life abroad is very fun. So long as you know where to find the fun, it can be very, very fun actually, until you forget yourself even. Because festival is kind of everywhere. There is always festival in each time of the year. It's just that you need to know where they're occurring, and what is actually what is the topic. For example, there is, for example, October Festival. They have very funny attires. There is Christmas market, which also have its own kind of vibe. There is summer festival. There is always concerts. There's so many things. Like, for example, you find there's so many artists who, for example, in my country, they've never been, but here abroad, these are things that happen day in, day out, and it's not even limited. Like, anybody can attend them so long as you buy the tickets. These are things that are available. You will always get access to such kind of events. You can also easily meet how's it called, celebrities, depending on where you are and the type of event. So these things, when you're abroad, they're not so major. Well, still on the hidden truths about life abroad as an African or as a Kenyan, it's on the work and the struggle of career or career choices. So quite a lot of time you'll hear many people saying, yeah, as a foreigner, you'll have to work a lot more. You will have to do a lot more than a common person. I don't know on which case they're always basing it, but from my understanding, it is always the same case like that when someone has to compensate for something they're missing. So, for example, if you can't speak the language that is spoken, or if you didn't grow up with the language, or if you have some barriers, you will likely struggle a lot even more, because you want to compensate that regardless of the language barrier, you're still capable, motivated, and even a better candidate than what they thought you are. And another thing is also the lack of recognition of certificates. So you find, like, maybe if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever you are in your country, you're a big person, you're a known person, you know. If you come to a different country abroad, you find that your certificates or skills are reduced, which is something I fail to understand, but it is mostly always the case. So instead of working, for example, as a doctor, you start working as a doctor assistant, or even fail to find the recognition of your certificate in that field that you are. And these are things that really, as foreigners or as people abroad, tend to struggle with. So what they will always do, they will either change career to fit in the working class level, or they will have to do other jobs as they wait for their recognition of certificate, or as they upgrade their certificate. So they will involve things like caregiving work, they will involve things like cleaning, they will do things like delivery, so that in case they happen to join school to upgrade their study, they can even be able to still keep the way of life. And like I said before, life is so expensive, so you have to know where you're gonna get the next bill. You have to know where you're gonna get also the next meal, and such kind of things. Still on that, as much as work pays good, there is always also like child benefit on top on this. I mean, like, you're paid to have a child. It sounds good, okay. So yeah, it basically means that once you have a child, you get a benefit on top to help you with the parenting or with keeping the child up. So because of course a child doesn't come for free, he or she comes with his own expenses packed in a suitcase, and you get some money or some stipend to help you with. To be honest, if you're not working, you can't depend on this money just for a living, unless you really want to live in a, I don't know, in a condition that is not suitable, or if you are this person who doesn't care what tomorrow brings. But for anybody with some sense of reasoning, they will not depend on this fully. It is good to have, but it doesn't have to be. But of course, it is there, so why not make use of it? And another thing is that the schools, of course, are affordable. The poverty level is also quite low, so it means that you can as well just take like a few months or a year of parenting if you have a small child, and take care of your child until the child is 1 year, and then go back to work, because the work will always be there. They will be waiting for you. And also, like for example, I can talk of a case like Germany. There is a lot of protection of work, so if that is something you are looking for, there is a lot of protection whereby, for example, if you are pregnant, you're not allowed to be demoted or to be retrenched from work because of your pregnancy. Until you come back from work is when they can decide whether they're going to remove you from your working space or something like this. So it is very good. So it gives a platform to climb up, but of course that comes at a cost. it just doesn't come like that. And remember, the cost here is, for example, if you are earning like 2,000 euros and then you have a child, so that means after a certain time of a certain period of time, you will stop receiving the benefit that you are receiving, I mean the salary, and it will be required of you to go back to work. And if for you to go back to work with the 1-year-old child, it's quite a hassle. So if you're a single mother, for example, you're going to really struggle. You're going to really struggle in the sense that you need to go to work to be able to feed or look after yourself and the small child. And it's not easy, because whenever you're at work, this child needs to be taken care of. And that means if, for example, you land yourself in a daycare, where on the advantage side is that if you're a single mother, you're going to have subsidized amount of money to pay compared to someone who has a good job with the husband or that kind of stuff. So you're gonna have a benefit, but the disadvantage is, for example, if the child is sick, you'll have to take care of that child. You have to be with the child at home, because they're not gonna keep the child who's sick in the daycare for you. So you will find yourself struggling. It's not like back at home where it's easy to get a nanny. It's so easy to get a nanny at an affordable price. Abroad is quite a task, because there is a limit cap for what each and every person should earn. So for example, if you are on that lower skill level where you earn, for example, like 15 euros an hour, you cannot afford to have a nanny, because how are you going to have a nanny and you need this money that you're going to pay for the nanny for yourself, for your own upkeep? So that becomes a challenge, of course. And to close on work and career struggles is that there is, there is always an image that people put when one does like office jobs where they have to wear suits and whatever you might call it. Should I say corporate or whatever? Abroad, what I realize is that there are many jobs, of course, and actually, the more formal you are, the less you earn. So I'm not saying that it is always the case, but most of the case. So for example, if you are maybe like a security guard, it will be required of you maybe to wear like suits or whatever. If you're a restaurant provider or service provider, in this case, you will always be required to wear formal. And that is quite a low job, a low paying job. Whereas if you have, for example, your own company, who requires you to wear a suit? Of course, nobody. You will wear a suit if you have to wear a suit. So in summary, is that don't judge someone based on their work abroad, because someone could be doing very, very shoddy jobs, but really having a good income from it. Someone could be wearing suit from suit, but earning nothing. Someone could also be just doing very, very dirty jobs because they're just there temporarily, and all of a sudden they just come from one point of the ladder to the other, and they will never be compared to anybody around their circles. Last but not least, maybe this I'm gonna just do a different video about it, but yeah, to add on that, the truth are relationships are hard. Family pressure is high, and they can go from working to not working relationships, working to not working marriages. It's all together under one pot, and it cooks as it goes. So long distance relationship often break down because everybody has their capacity, their capability. No one is desperate in anything, so you're not doing anybody a favor in most of the time. So people jump from one relationship to the other because it fits them. People know their priorities really quite good, because also for example, women are quite well protected, and it is really well protected, the women rights. So people really don't joke around matters, relationships, because once a child is involved, once marriage is involved, you can go from owning properties to not having anything to being on the street. Yeah, it is that serious. And I'm gonna just make another video out of this because it is huge. It is huge. There's so many topics from this. So see you on the next.